Howdy, everybody, and welcome to Libromancy, a podcast about the magic of books. Today, we're going to be talking about A College of Magics by Caroline Stevermer. So let's will the magic of books into being. Today, I'm joined by Andrea.
Hey, guys.
And we both read this book, and we both had about the same feelings on it. So we're going to talk about it. It's a non-spoiler section first, as always, and then we'll talk about some spoilers.
Can I say how I came to be to read?
You always can.
So, I read this book because Josh read this book, and he didn't super like it, but he, for some reason, thought I would, and so said, hey, read this book, I think you'll like it. That turned out to not be the case, because I also did not love it.
Yep. It was not my favorite, but I thought that it really did feel like Caroline Stevermer had built a unique kind of world, and that it felt real, and the world kind of fleshed out, that there were different properties and different, states and stuff. But on the whole, I just did not connect with this as much, and I think it's because I went in with the wrong expectations. I went in the title, A College of Magics, expecting magic, and expecting our main character, Ferris, to be learning magic and to be experiencing magic. And this is definitely what you'd call a soft magic system. And because of that, there's no real rules or explanation. And this is just one of those things that makes me not enjoy the soft magic system books that I read, because I just can't connect with
enough.
Well, they're developed. I just can't connect with how the magic actually solves the problem, right? Or how the magic is used. Did you want to say anything before we move into our spoiler section?
No, I think I'm good.
All right, so let's just give a brief rundown of what actually happens in the book as we start our spoiler section. So our main character, Ferris Nalanin, is the heir to be the Duchess of the country Galazon. However, she has been shipped off to college by her uncle Brinker, who she describes as evil all the time.
Yeah, and he does that because he kind of wants to get rid of her before she becomes of age a little bit, because when she becomes of age, she will take over the country.
Yeah, so he sends her to Greenlaw College, a college that is reported to, teach in house witches, and there's magic, but nobody's ever really sure. But that's kind of what they always refer to themselves as. She's here at the school for quite a while before she gets expelled. She journeys to Paris to meet with someone, a warden, learns a couple things, and then heads back to Galazon and Araville to fulfill her destiny and right what was wronged. Now, this was not really what I was expecting.
Yeah. So, very first, as she's at the college, it's a college of magics, but at the school, they're not allowed to do magic, or talk about magic, or inquire about magic.
Yes.
They have one lesson a day from the main headmistress, and she teaches them an hour a day of magic, but they're not allowed to discuss it, or practice, or do anything with magic on school grounds.
Right, and this, of course, is going back to that soft magic system where it's not exactly told what the magic system can or can't do. But, of course, while she's here at the Greenslaw College, she does make some friends.
And some enemies.
Some enemies. And it's kind of interesting to see that, everybody kind of starts off with her in the beginning. Oh, magic's not real, and, oh, they just say that. But then after they do their vigil, which is where they stay up all night, individually at certain times and kind of watch out for things, that they become attuned to magic, and then suddenly they know and can do magic, it feels like.
Well, either they can or they can't. You either have the aptitude to do magic or you don't. And you don't know until you practice this vigil, which you don't practice until the third year of your college.
Yeah, and so it was quite an interesting thing. And then we meet our main, I hate to say antagonist, because she's barely an antagonist in this story, but Minari is her name, and she heartily disagrees with the main character all the time. She has figured out her magic, apparently. Also, at the same time that she's been meeting Minari and being, antagonistic towards her, she also meets Tyrion, who is been assigned by her Uncle Brinker to guard her / keep her at the school, so if she does escape, he'll bring her right back to the school.
Yeah, basically her bodyguard.
Yeah. Now, I, from the beginning, knew that there would be a little bit of a love triangle, but not really a triangle, but more of just like that budding relationship between Tyrion and Ferris.
I did not catch on to that. It just like came out of nowhere to me.
It didn't bother me. I could see it, but it wasn't very
Tyrion
formed
was
in the
married,
beginning.
by the way, so that was a little weird that they just randomly fell in love with each other. I don't know.
Well, his wife had died.
They didn't say that. Oh, sorry, I missed that part of the book.
Yeah, that's okay. So, after Ferris has accomplished her vigil, and she didn't see anything out of the ordinary, but apparently she has the aptitude, she confronts Minari, and Minari has somehow turned Tyrion into a cat. So, that's one thing we know that magic can do, is turn you into a cat. Now...
Does never explain how.
Or why.
Or why.
Yeah.
At all.
So she turned Tyrion into a cat, mainly to annoy Ferris, and then they are both expelled by the headmistress for performing magic in school where they're not supposed to. And throughout all this time, they always talk about the balance. Like, magic requires a strict balance. That Greenlaw has an agreement with the 4 wardens of each cardinal direction, Warden of the North, East, South, and West, that Greenlaw can kind of manage itself with its balance, and so they've made it a little easier to perform magic because of that. But when they leave, it becomes harder.
Yeah, but only, like, at the college, only the teachers are allowed to do magic.
Yeah. So, at this point, when she's expelled, she is sent by the headmistress, who, had to expel her because she did magic, but doesn't believe she did anything wrong. She has to go visit Paris and meet with a man named Hilarion. And to me, this is where the book started to pick up a little bit.
Yeah.
And I thought it would be going better and get more exciting, and then it tanked it. I'm sorry. It was a quick ramp up and then a long, slow letdown for me. That I thought it was going to be exciting after this. We were finally getting some answers.
Because you finally learn a little bit about... So she meets with Hilarion, the warden of the West, and he tells her the big secret that she's actually the warden of the North. And so she, has this future and this destiny that she's supposed to go repair all this stuff. And then... all of a sudden, basically, it takes them another, 10 chapters to even make it back to her hometown so that she can even begin to fulfill her destiny. And it's just a kind of random 10 chapters that doesn't really play into the story, I didn't feel like.
Yeah, it definitely, where he explains to her, hey, you are the warden of the North, you have this responsibility. And then he explains to her kind of what happened and why, that her grandmother was the warden of the North, but her grandmother tried to do something and threw magic out of balance. She tried to make a perfect Galazon, and that broke magic in that area, and so there's this big rift. Does this rift do anything? Not as far as I could tell.
No,
it exists, but apparently it's a problem. So as she's meeting with him, he explains, your grandmother did this rift, it's your job to fix it, you are the new warden. And then he sends her with Tyrion, because apparently he's the one who hired Tyrion to go get hired by her Uncle Brinker to take her
to Greenlaw
College to all bring her back to Hilarion. So she goes, she's in Paris here, and one of her friends has come with her, Jane. And Jane is actually, I think, my favorite character in the whole book.
Because she can actually do magic. Because at this point, Ferris doesn't really do magic. She can't perform magic, I should say.
She's done magic, but it was all unconscious, and she didn't know that she was even doing magic when she did it. But, no, Jane is my favorite
Jane
character.
Jane actively does magic.
Partially because she actually does magic, and more because she's actually a witty and a funny and, a smart character who knows, what she wants and what she's doing and how to do it. Whereas Ferris always comes across to me as kind of just the whiny 15-year-old. Why do I have to learn how to do this? Why do I have to practice this? I just want to go back and live in Galazon, which is just a constant throughout the whole book. I love Galazon more than anything else in the entire world, and the rest of it could burn as long as Galazon's fine. And it's you grow up a little bit. The whole world is not Galazon. Like,
yeah. Well, that's all she wants with her life is to go and rule Galazon and to basically kick her uncle out of office so that she can take over Galazon.
yeah. And she refers to her uncle as an evil uncle, right? She refers to him as evil several times. So I was picturing in my mind, okay, either he's like an evil mustache twirling villain who's blah, 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 or he's like evil and he's doing evil magic, and that's why she had to kind of get to the Greenlaw College. And it's like, no, he's just kind of a regular guy who wants to protect his family and, like, rule Galazon so he can live comfortably. And he's not like, I never got any, like, overtly evil senses from him.
At one point, he actually saves her life, so that's weird, but after he saves her life, like, she still hates him.
She does soften to him a bit.
It's just kind of funny.
Yeah, so, as we were saying, she finally gets to Galazon, and she's been instructed to look for something called the Warden's Stair, where she'll find the stair, it will take her to, like, the Warden's secret area, where the rift is, and then she'll be able to fix the rift.
Which is randomly guarded by lions.
Well,
but it's never really explained.
It's not really guarded by lions.
To, like,
it is to explain.
It's explained to, like, deter people. But it's like, okay, that's, I don't know. Just another random part for me.
Okay, you are way off for a second here. So let's talk about this first for a second before we go back and revisit the lions. She has arrived in Galazon. She's being sent off to Araville, where the warden seat supposedly could be, and she's supposed to go there and make an impression. She learns that Minari, her enemy, who was also, exiled from Greenlaw College, is at Araville, and is working there, and then she's kind of
not
locked in
there.
an entrapment.
Her father, the king, has locked her in a labyrinth.
It was weird, but Ferris can travel the labyrinth in and out just fine without any issue, even though it's a labyrinth. But it's not a labyrinth, it's like a pseudo-labyrinth, because
it's a garden.
It's really just a garden that anybody could, like, walk in and out, but apparently Minari actually can't. So, while she's in Araville, she learns that the king, she's, being groomed to marry the king, and she does not like that, and she's being...
That the king was basically paid off to marry her by her uncle.
Yeah.
So that's, like, really the only evil thing he's done, but I don't know that you would call that evil either. That's just
politics.
A typical thing that would happen in politics, yeah.
Especially with competing countries next to each other who are always going for the same space. And, of course, he raised the taxes, which it makes him evil, but at this time, Ferris is being set upon by people who are kingsmen who want to install a new king, or people who want to keep the older king in play. And it gets very, at least it felt confusing to me, of everything that's going on. Meanwhile, she's able to find kind of this area that's been sealed off. And yes, it is guarded by lions, but remember, they put the lions there to keep the regular people out of the area, which it kind of did, except then people just came to take pictures of the lions.
Yeah.
So, Jane puts all the lions to sleep.
But they're pretty,
somehow.
Mild-mannered lions, too.
So far, yeah. Anyway. And then she finds the rift. And the rift is kind of just explained, as I understood it, as just like a void. Like, it's just there. And
but it doesn't describe it at all.
Doesn't really describe it, yeah.
Even what it does.
Yeah, it exists, and because it exists, the other wardens of the east, south, and west are unable to pass on, and everything's kind of stuck, is kind of what it hinted at to me. So while she's there, she finds the rift finally, and I thought there was a great scene earlier where she's looking at a rug, and she says, when I look at it out of the corner of my eye, it looks like there's a staircase in the rug. And I'm like, oh, that's it. That's the warden. That's the staircase to the warden area. That's the secret staircase she's looking for. You have to use magic and will the rug into a staircase, then you can kind of walk down it or up it or however it works. And I was totally wrong. It's just a rug that looked like a staircase when you looked at it at the corner of your eye. So I was disappointed in that.
Very, another just random piece of, their magic, but not really explained why this rug was... it wasn't important. But there was, a whole chapter, maybe chapter and a half about this rug, and they kept mentioning it, and it's like, okay, if this has no point in the story, why put it in?
Yeah, and it was fine. It just, it threw me off, and I was expecting it to be part of it, and it wasn't. So, she's found the void. She's trying to fix it and will it to be shut, and that's not working. And so, she shoves all of her memories of Galazon into the void, and it kind of takes all of her memories of everything, especially her most passionate memories, right? And then, near the end, the void closes. She knows that Tyrion has died. I'm trying to protect her. And she basically is like a ghost at the end, where she's there in person, but her mental state is completely gone.
She no longer has any memories, or any, passion for anything in her life anymore. Because Galazon was her life, and then she, threw all of that into the void to shut the void, or the rift, and she, becomes this zombie of, having to learn how to, have passion again, I guess.
Yeah, I never felt like she had lost her memories. I mean, she kind of did, but, the memories were there. They were just, muted memories. So instead of being, remembering it and feeling excited about that memory or passionate about it or loving it, it's just kind of all gray to her. Her whole life is now gray. And I was like, well, that seems like a really, really, bad ending to the book. Just, yes, my hero has saved the day, but now she's gray and she doesn't care about anything or, want to do anything because she has no passion. And she meets the king, and time goes on, and she's getting better, and she's starting to remember certain things better and get passionate.
The grand randomness of the entire book.
Well, so she's been meeting with the king and performing deals to okay, let's keep Galazon safe, because she still knows that she loves Galazon. She just can't feel it. And as she's meeting with the king, the king was like, hey, it's me, Tyrion, basically. So when Tyrion had died, right when the rift was closing, the king had also died, and so the Warden of the West, Hilarion, put Tyrion's soul into the king so that Tyrion could keep living as kind of a final balance, and that Ferris would, be able to spend her life with someone she loved as kind of recompense for fixing the rift, I guess. I don't know.
But makes no sense, because if Hilarion could do that, then Hilarion could have just brought Tyrion's body back to life. You didn't have to, replace him with the king. Made no sense whatsoever.
Apparently he couldn't just bring his body back to life. So it was an interesting book. I will not be reading the sequel, A Scholar of Magics. What about you? Are you going to read the sequel?
Yeah, no. This book took me a very long time to get through. I had to go back, because normally what I do when I read a book is I read a book to escape my life, right? And this book, I just felt like all I did was I lost so much interest in it, so I'd start thinking about my life, and then I'd have to go back and read the last 5 pages because I wasn't paying attention, because I was so bored. So, thanks for thinking I would like this book, but I absolutely did not like this book, and also will not be reading the sequel, because the first book made absolutely no sense.
Alright, well, that's going to wrap up our discussion of A College of Magics by Caroline Stevermer. Everybody, thanks for listening. Thanks to David Hillowitz for the intro and outro music. If you have any questions or comments, please send them to libromancypod@gmail.com. And if you like hearing me and us talk about these books, give us a follow, review on iTunes, any kind of podcatching app. And always remember to will the magic of book.